Welcome back to the show, everybody. This episode of our podcast is brought to you by Affinity Apartment Communities and the Agape Ridge Cabins. The Agape Ridge Cabins are beautiful cabins out in Hocking Hills. You can book your next weekend. You can book your next day. Book a week. You're going to love every single minute of your stay at the Agape Ridge Cabins. Check them out at agaperidgecabins.com. And also check out affinityapartmentcommunities.com. They have anywhere from a studio apartment to a 3-bedroom home based on availability. Check it out. Go to their website, fill out an application, see if you can apply, see if you qualify to live in one of these beautiful apartments, one of these beautiful homes, and you will love it. AgapeRidgeCabins.com or AffinityApartmentCommunities.com. Check them out today. This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by My Auto Care. My Auto Care is a game changer. I'm telling you right now, you're not going to go anywhere else for your car repairs, your car needs, your car upkeep. They are going to take care of you as soon as possible. Check out myautocare.com. Give them a call. Check them out online. Schedule your next car repair as soon as possible because they're just the best. You're not going to want to wait around. You're not going to want to do anything. Give them a call if you're stranded on the road. Give them a call. They'll come to your job, whatever you want to do. Check out myautocare.com as soon as possible. Let's get to the show.
Could be up to the offensive line. No, Prince's going to throw for it. Got to get it off. They go for the ball game. Touchdown! Touchdown! Michael Jenkins! Holy Buckeye! Tebow straight ahead into the end zone, and the Gators have put this one on ice.
Hello, and welcome to the Tim and Stripe Show. This is a college football podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. We're a part of the Press Play Podcast Network, and Tim and I, we're going to be talking college football for the next 45 minutes to an hour. Tim Jones is a Gator fan, giving you the SEC perspective, and I'm an Ohio State fan, giving you the Big Ten and the Ohio State perspective. And so with that, let's get into it, Tim. Let's do our weekend update. Tell us about the Gators, how they looked, and your overall thoughts on college football from the weekend.
Well, the Gators didn't play this past week. They were off.
That's right.
We got a big game coming up against Georgia this weekend, though. So that's a huge deal. This is really it for the Gators. If they can take care of business and beat Georgia at a neutral site, then this really means that our schedule is fairly easy from this point on. If we can manage to pull this off, then I feel really good about this team.
Yeah, it seems like Florida kind of did their schedule in reverse to what Ohio State has done. Ohio State's schedule is really back-end heavy when Florida's was front-end heavy.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and there are pros and cons to both.
Right.
Obviously, I mean, especially when you're playing the good teams early. A lot of people have been saying the last 2 weeks that they think Florida, from the beginning of the season until now, has shown more progress than any team in the country.
Yeah.
And I think from the Miami game to where we are now, people who watched the Miami game said this team is terrible, like they're going to be nothing, and they've really improved a lot since that point. So, in that way, putting these games at the end of the season can be beneficial if you can continue to get progressing it better and better as you go. But the downside is those games also, they're on the minds of the committee at that point too. So if you get upset one of those games, or if you lose one of those games, then it means a lot more than if Florida's game where they lost to LSU, it doesn't weigh as much on them.
Yeah, and I mean, they've put up 28 points on LSU, so they didn't have a bad game. I think the way we've put it in the past is if you score 35, you should win. And so Florida's offense was one touchdown away, and they kind of gave it away there late. They did. Kind of fell off, and so they should have, if they would have played smart football, I think they would have got that 35 points and put themselves in a really good place to win.
Yeah.
But LSU, it feels like Ohio State and LSU are on a crash course for at least a playoff position and then playoff head-to-head. To divert a little bit from your Florida, how good is LSU and how good is their defense? I haven't watched them really that close.
LSU is good. Their defense, I think they're shallow. I don't see a lot of depth on their team defensively. So if they have injuries, that's why I think they can be exploited a little bit. As players get tired. I think Florida had a really good game plan going into that game. They didn't really know how to play Kyle Trask. I think he played well. Really, both of those defenses kind of had I would say I wouldn't say. I would say it's absolutely clear that's the worst game that both these defenses have had all year against each other.
What was Florida's game plan going into that one?
Well, as far as their defense goes, they basically wanted to shut down the passing game a little bit, and I think they didn't do a great job of that. But they had moments, and then offensively, I think they just wanted to show that they could pass the ball. They have Florida's defense or offensive line has not played well this year. In that game, their game plan seemed like all along they were just gonna pass it. They were gonna run when they felt like they needed to, but they were going to focus on the passing game. And so they did. They felt like they could take advantage of LSU's secondary. And for the most part, I felt like they handled them pretty well throughout the game. So I think that's really what they want to do is just help Kyle Trask build confidence early and just let him go. Let him just do his thing.
Yeah.
And it seemed to be very effective.
Okay. So sorry, looking back, let's look towards the Georgia game. Sorry, I kind of jumped in there with because I want to understand LSU a little bit better. But looking at Georgia, looking at your upcoming game, should Georgia lose some credibility for how close they played Notre Dame and then Michigan just came and embarrassed them over the weekend?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I think that it looked to me like Georgia kind of left the gas a little bit in that game too, whereas they had Notre Dame pretty well, even I'd say in the third quarter, and they kind of let Notre Dame get back in the game. Yeah. So I think they kind of let up the gas a little bit there. However, I think the way Jake Fromm has played since that game is a definite concern for anyone who's a Georgia fan. Yeah. So,
I don't know what the spread is. I like getting the spreads as a surprise and picking on the spot. But if I were to pick a spread for this game, it's at a neutral site. Where is it?
It's in Jacksonville.
Jacksonville? Okay. I would probably put the spread at 9.5 for Florida.
Do you want to know what it is?
Sure.
It is Georgia is favored by 6.5 right now.
I think you know who I'm going to pick. Tip my hat. But I don't think Georgia's that good.
I don't either.
There's a lot of weaknesses there. And when I saw just Michigan put a romping on Notre Dame over the weekend in a messy game, that really gave me clarity of what this Georgia team is. Because don't be fooled, people. This is not a turnaround game for Michigan. This doesn't mean, Michigan is back. Notre Dame is just that bad. I 100% believe that Wisconsin would come in and smoke Michigan again next week. It's not that Michigan is back or Michigan is better. I think Notre Dame is just that bad of a team.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you there. I still don't think Michigan is that good, just to be clear.
Right.
Notre Dame didn't show up, period. They just didn't show up for this game.
Yeah.
That's the thing about Georgia is, I think Notre Dame has not gotten better and Georgia has not gotten better since they played each other. And that's really the bottom line is if your team isn't getting better every game, every week, then you're at a huge disadvantage. And that's why this is the most – I'm trying to be cautiously optimistic, but this is the most optimistic I've been in this rivalry in several years with Florida. I think this is the best chance we've had since Georgia fired Mark Richt. I think it's the best chance we've had to beat this team. And I feel really confident that Florida's healthy now and they're going to come out and they're going to be ready and they're going to be fired up.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this game.
Yeah, I'm excited for it too. Maybe the only college football game I watch all weekend because there's not a lot going on this week in college football. We have Ohio State, Alabama, and LSU, and we'll give Clemson half of a bye week this week because they're playing Wofford. Yeah. So the top four teams basically have bye weeks this week. So I'm going to be watching Florida, Georgia very closely at 3:30 on Saturday.
3:30 on CBS.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. What else? Anything on your mind that you want to add about the Florida-Georgia game? Kyle Trask, you expect him to have a big game?
I do. I really do. I think that he's going to be ready. I think they're going to try to run the ball more. I think they're going to try to throw Georgia off because they've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. Both teams have. So I think that they're going to try to surprise Georgia a little bit and try to run the ball differently than they have been all year, just to see if it works, if it's effective. So I'm just curious to see what Dan Mullen's going to do because he truly is a quarterback whisperer. I really believe that. He's proven it time and time again, and so I'm just really excited to see what they've game planned over the last 2 weeks, with all the film they've watched and what they're going to come out with. I just don't see how Georgia's going to stop them defensively. I really don't. So that's really what I'm excited to see, just what they come up with, to be creative and try things that are different, and show some different things this week. So that's really it. I'm ready for this game. Like, I want to play tomorrow.
Yeah, you seem psyched. Okay, one last question. Felipe Franks next year, does he transfer?
So the rumor is, and I don't know, I don't buy into it, but the rumor is he's going pro in baseball next year.
Oh, okay.
Because he was drafted by the Red Sox.
Oh.
So I don't know if that's really true, but I just don't think that he has a place in this team anymore. I really don't.
He'll never play another game for Florida in his career,
unless he just pulls a Kyle Trask and says, "I'm loyal to this team. I want to stay," and Kyle Trask gets hurt. I just don't see it, though. I think Emory Jones is next man up if something does happen to Trask, and I think Felipe Franks is the odd man out in this situation.
It's a rough spot to be.
It is, but unfortunately that's the business.
Right, that's how it is. Okay, so looking at Ohio State last week. So I've noticed a trend for us, Tim. Ever since the Michigan State game, we've been saying, okay, Michigan State, they're the first real test for Ohio State. Well, the Ohio State whoops on Michigan State. And so then we say again, okay, Wisconsin, here it is, first real test for Ohio State. Ohio State rolls over Wisconsin 38-7. And so are these teams good, or is Ohio State just that good?
No, we talked about this last week. Neither of those teams were really good. Wisconsin, I told you last week, Wisconsin is not good. That Illinois loss was garbage. You can't lose a game like that. It's embarrassing. It's terrible. And they're a joke now. Like, nobody's taking Wisconsin seriously.
Yeah. Well, I think Wisconsin is a good team. They're a tough physical team. I don't know if they'll lose another one. Maybe. All right, let me pull up their schedule.
I told you on Saturday they're going to lose to Iowa.
Yeah, I kind of hope they do, because I'd love to let Ohio State have another shot at Iowa in the Big Ten championship.
Well, I mean, yeah, they have a week off. Why does everyone have this weekend off? I don't know. Wisconsin has this weekend off too, and then they play Iowa the following week.
Yeah.
Then they play Nebraska, Purdue, and they finish with Minnesota. Now that could be an interesting game, but Minnesota has a tough schedule ahead.
Yeah, they do.
So that's going to be – we're going to find out who both these teams are in the next several weeks.
Yeah, I don't think Minnesota is going to be ranked by the time they get to Wisconsin.
I don't think so either. They play Penn State, Iowa, Northwestern, and then Wisconsin.
Yeah.
That's a rough schedule. 3 of those 4 teams.
They'll lose 2 of the 4, 3 of the 4. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, so Ohio State, we have Chase Young, 2 forced tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 4 sacks, just a monster game of his life. It's funny, his mom did an interview with Urban Meyer, and she said, well, I tell him every week he needs to have at least 1 sack every quarter. And she said, oh, he finally did it. So she seems like a really fun lady. So Chase Young had a monster game. J.K. Dobbins had a monster game. Justin Fields showed grit. Did you watch the Wisconsin game, Tim?
I did not watch the entire game. I watched parts of it.
Well, he got injured to the point where he had to go in the medical tent. And every Ohio State fan is like holding their breath because our backup quarterback chugging on, whatever, is in there, and he's running around like he doesn't know what to do. He's lost. So if Justin Fields goes down, we're in big, big trouble. And so he went to the medical tent, but then he came out, and with every hit, he was wincing. But, man, he fought through it. He put together some good runs. He's a tough guy, showed some grit. I have a lot more respect for Justin Fields. Still worried about making the good plays under pressure. He does okay. I mean, he's done everything that a fan could ask for. So can't keep putting down Justin Fields for too much longer. So here's my Heisman list, Tim, and this is, in all seriousness, my top 4.
Okay.
I know it's kind of tongue in cheek, but so I have Chase Young, J.K. Dobbins, Justin Fields, Joe Burrow. Top 4 on the Heisman list, because here was my list. You had Tua, who was up there, Tua Tagovailoa, however you say it. He was number 1, and he got injured. So he's losing stats. He's not going to be there. He may be there at the end of the year, but he's not winning the thing. Okay, you had Jalen Hurts, who looked ugly this weekend, and Oklahoma lost. There's like a 17% chance that they could still get back in the playoffs, but it's pretty slim shot. So I think a playoff team, the best player on the most dominant team typically wins the Heisman. And so I think Jalen Hurts has moved himself back out of the conversation. And so the only one really, the two left on my list who were there initially, well, Jonathan Taylor. He got like 56 yards over the weekend. So he's off my list. So who else, Tim? Who would you put on your Heisman list?
Well, I think those players are ranked a little high on your list. I'm fine with Chase Young, honestly. I'm fine with Chase Young being on that list. I don't think he's a top 3 right now, but
13 and a half sacks. 13 and a half sacks.
Great, which is great. There's no question.
When we were doing our thing, that's like what most defensive ends have in their whole career as like a 3-year starter. He has it in his first 8 games this season. I mean, he's
no question how
dominant.
Impressive he is. But unfortunately, we don't rank defensive players the same way we do offensive players. That's just part of the deal. I would put Joe Burrow number 1 right now. I think he's
that's fair.
Consistently from beginning to end. I think he's been the best player. I do think it's funny that you still like kind of consider him a Buckeye.
I claim him. I mean, he's well.
I wouldn't. I would do the opposite, honestly.
Well, he's from Ohio. I root for Ohio guys. He transferred because he wanted to play, and if he wasn't sure what Dwayne Haskins was going to do, he got beat out for that spot, and so he wanted to play, and I don't blame him for transferring. I want him to do really, really well, and he's from Ohio. He played for Ohio State, and he seems like a fun guy. I root for him. I want him to do well. I don't know if I necessarily claim him because I think he made a comment last year where he's like, it's weird that Ohio State fans root for me because if I play him, I can't wait to beat him, something like that.
Yeah, and I can see that. See, I feel opposite because like you'll never hear me be like, "Yeah, I'm a big Cam Newton guy because he played at Florida." Not at all.
Yeah. No, yeah, I just like it, man. And Joe Burrow, and I think he did everything right. I mean, he was a graduate transfer, so he graduated from Ohio State, and then did what he had to do to get on the field. And now he's taking full advantage of it. I love the guy. I think he's got grit. I think he's a super smart player. I think he'll play really well in the NFL, honestly. So yeah, I have no problem with Joe Burrow being at number 1.
Yeah, well, I think Jalen Hurts is still number 2, actually.
Really?
Yeah, he lost the game, yes, but I think statistically he's still one of the top 3 players in the country right now. So I agree with what we were saying about Tua, though. I think every game he misses, his chances go down pretty significantly now.
Mm-hmm. So who you got? Chase Young at 3 for you? You said that was a little high. Who would you put at 3? Over Tua. Kyle Trask.
He's getting there. He's a little closer. No, I don't know. Chase Young maybe 3 or 4. I can't think of anyone right now who I would put ahead of him, but I'm not 100% confident to have him in the top 3 either.
Have you seen J.K. Dobbins' stats through 8 games?
Here's my problem with putting J.K. Dobbins on this list and this isn't necessarily a discredit to him as much as it's a compliment to the team and the backup players. Is I think the problem is you put another player in on that team and they're doing the exact same thing or sometimes even better. So I think that hurts him as far as like eye test. Does that make sense? Like you put a second running back in, second string, they do the same thing he does. They just don't get the same opportunities. So I think that hurts his eye test opportunity to be considered in this competition, in this conversation.
Yeah, I mean he's averaging 7.2 yards a carry, 9 touchdowns, 1,110 yards. I mean he's having an awesome season on only 154 carries.
Right.
And he's having an amazing season. But it goes to Ohio State because Master Teague, when you put him in there, he looks almost just as.
And that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. But I think did you see Justin Fields' stiff arm? He just planted some guy with a stiff arm. It was awesome. I like J.K. Dobbins a lot. I like Justin Fields a lot. I have high hopes for this team. How upset do you think Urban Meyer will be? Urban Meyer has never had an undefeated season. So how upset do you – well, yeah, he did. He went 12-0.
He's not bowl eligible, but he did have an undefeated season.
Yeah. But I think he's kicking himself for retiring before this year because
Here's the thing. I don't think this team is this team if Urban Meyer's there, which is so weird to say.
You might be right.
But I think part of it is the change in the game plan has actually been very positive for them as a team.
Mm-hmm. Changing the game plan, changing I think it's the same defensive staff maybe as last year. I don't think you get the overhaul that Ryan Day did. So you might be right. Ohio State has an amazing defensive staff. When you think about what we did, think three of our defensive coaches were stolen from rival teams. Greg Madison, Larry Johnson was stolen from Penn State. And then I can't think of our linebackers coach, but linebackers coach was also stolen from Michigan. So it's an amazing defensive staff that we have, and they're just making things happen. I'm just so excited about this team and what the future holds, because they're just dominating every game. And I was talking to my brother this weekend, and Joe Klatt says the same thing. If you can't tell, I listen to a lot of Joe Klatt. But, he says with the way Ohio State works, and I've noticed this trend, and if you keep watching, so the first quarter is typically pretty close. Ohio State might score like one touchdown, but then in the past, we've scored the most of our points in the second quarter. Joe Klatt calls it, the dam breaking. So it's like they pound, and eventually the dam breaks and things open up. This game, Wisconsin's a little bit better of a team, so it took like midway through the third quarter for that quote unquote dam to break. And then it just opened up, and Ohio State went on a run. Ohio State has yet to play its starters for all four quarters from start to finish. It's just a lot of fun. Sorry, I could talk for days about Ohio State. So let's get things rolling on here. Let's talk our GatorBuck. This is actually going to be our last GatorBuck head-to-head for Tim and I. Hopefully next week we'll have our final team in place once Chase gets us his figures. He said he's going to listen to them. So hang in there, folks. We're going to get our final roster for our GatorBuck team. And so let's start things off. We're going to do a punter and a kicker this week. So I'll start with the punter. Is that all right, Tim?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. So my punter this week, I have Tom Skladany. Okay. He played in the 70s, 74, 5, and 6. He was a 3-year starter, three-year All-American as a punter. He had, in one season, he had 53 punts and 2,252 yards. He had a 52.5 average in that year alone. Overall, in his 3 years of starting, he had 160 total punts for 6,838 yards with a 45.6 yard average.
Nice.
Yeah, very good punter. 3-year All-American.
That's impressive. I'll be honest, I didn't even look All-American stuff. I just looked at strictly stats for this.
Well, mostly punters don't get All-American, so it's pretty rare. They may not have had. And I'm not saying that to be.
In the 60s, was it a thing? I don't know.
70s.
70s.
Much different, Tim.
Much different. It's a totally different conversation than what we're having now.
Whole decade.
So my punter is Johnny Townsend.
I've heard of him.
He was a punter from 2013 to 2017.
Okay.
And then he was drafted in the 5th round by the Oakland Raiders. So for his career, he was a 4-year starter basically. He had 240 punts for 11,090 yards, and he averaged 46.2 yards per punt, and that is the best in SEC history. So kind of a big deal.
What is it? 42.3?
46.2.
Ooh, he barely beat out Skladany.
I'll just tell you, that's just how it is.
So how many total yards? I missed that. I'm sorry. Did you say?
Yeah, it was 11,090.
All right.
So
that's a lot of yards. On how many total punts? Well, if you average 45.
It was 240.
Yeah, it's a lot of punts. Must not have been a very good Gator team.
Well, it was 2013 to 2017. So
yeah, not that great.
There's a reason some coaches were let go during his time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that works.
All right.
So like I said, as far as like awards, I can look it up. I didn't really look into it very much because honestly, I didn't put a lot of energy into
into your punter. How dare you?
If you want to go ahead and start talking your kicker, I can look it up real fast.
Okay, so my kicker is clearly the best kicker to maybe ever play college football. He's had a good pro career, but not the best. Mike Nugent, he went 8 of 9 from 50 plus. He was 136 out of 139 was his career point after attempts. Was 136 of 139 with an 81.8 average. He made 72 total field goals, 24. He went on a 24 consecutive field goal streak from I think he played 02 through 04. I don't remember. 01 through 04. I can't remember. And then he had 352 total points. 120 of those were in the 02 season alone when they won the national championship. So, yeah. Oh, and he was drafted in the second round as a kicker, 47th overall. So, just maybe the best kicker to play college football ever.
Based on his draft status, or
based on his points?
Sorry.
352 points, 120 points in 02. He made 72 field goals. He made 24 consecutive. He was 136 for 139 on point after attempts and an 81.6% average. He made 8 of 9 from 50 plus.
Okay. Not bad.
Super good.
So I'll point out, though, Eddie Pinheiro from Florida State was also drafted in the first round. That was
the first round?
Yeah. Eddie Pinheiro was drafted in the first round a couple years ago by the Bucks. Okay. One of the biggest mistakes they ever made.
Yeah, he did. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
he was missing extra points and everything. Oh, yeah, he's terrible.
Good times. Miss that guy. Oh, man.
Okay. All right.
Laugh at him like it's not his fault, probably.
I know. I'm sitting on my couch with Cheetos, laughing at some
Cheetos?
No, Lincoln loves Cheetos, of course, but my son. But yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I thought you actually had Cheetos, and I was like,
I'm more of a tortilla chip kind of guy with a nice dip. Sorry. All right.
Okay, with a dip though. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. So my kicker is Caleb Sturgis.
Okay.
He played from 2008 to 2012. He was a national champion, an SEC champion, SEC Special Teams Player of the Year, 2-time All-American, and 2-time All-SEC. He was drafted in the 4th round. So for field goals, he was 73 out of 88, so 83% career for field goals. He also had 10 tackles.
Wow.
So and for extra points, he was 137 out of 140, so 98% on extra points.
Okay. Very good. I forgot to mention Mike Nugent was a 2-time consensus All-American and the 2004 Lou Graza Award winner for best kicker.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, Chase, let us know what you think. I don't know. I'm not even going to throw in my 2 cents, Chase. Let us know what you think. Hopefully you can listen by next week so that we can have our final roster out there for the people, for the fans, for the listeners, because I can't wait to hear it. I can't wait to see it. Tim and I have worked hard on these throughout the past several weeks, and I hope you all enjoyed it. And now we're going to move on to our picks against the spread, and I'm super excited. Tell us all about last week.
So last week they canceled the spreads. Like Vegas just canceled them. So I thought it was weird. All right, but really, basically, we had the Wisconsin-Ohio State game. Ohio State favored by 14.5. We both picked Ohio State to majorly beat that, and they did.
Yeah, they're gonna have to start really bumping up these spreads for. I think Ohio State has beat the spread every single week.
Yeah, they're very conservative for some reason on these spreads. I don't know why.
Yeah. No love.
I think the weather was a factor in this spread, but still, it's really conservative.
Mm-hmm.
The next one was the Auburn at LSU. LSU was favored by 11.5, and we both picked LSU on this one, and we did not cover in that one.
Yeah.
So
Auburn, I don't know. I can't. Once we get to our top 6, I'll tell more about my opinion on this game.
Okay. And then the last one, the Notre Dame at Michigan. It was Michigan -1, so it was basically a toss-up. And I really was surprised that Notre Dame decided not to show up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and when looking back, there was no reason why Michigan should have been favored in this game at all. They had not earned that at all. But they carried over whatever momentum they had in the Penn State game, and they just kept it rolling against Notre Dame. So Michigan at home smoked them. So it's back to a 2-game split. Is it 5-3?
I'm up 5-3 now.
Yeah. 5-3. I'm coming back. All right. So take us into this upcoming week filled with quality games.
Yes. So our number 3 game of the week is number 7 Oregon going to the University of Southern California, USC. Oregon is favored by 4.5 on the road.
Okay. All right. I'm taking Oregon.
I wanted you to go against Oregon. I've been riding Oregon all season.
Yeah.
And the only time they've hurt me was the LSU game. So I'm going to continue to ride that train this week. Although I'm a little more skeptical for some reason this game, but I still think Oregon's gonna pull it off by touchdown.
Yeah, I don't think USC is good. So and I think Oregon is good. So give me Oregon. It's an easy one.
Yeah. So the second game is, did they officially announce that game day was going to Memphis, or are they still?
I think so. I think it's official.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And like I talked to you about earlier, if game day does go to Memphis, it is because they don't want to be at a Florida site 4 weeks in one season, because they've already been to a Florida where Florida's playing 3 times this year. So they went with Florida, Miami, at Florida against Auburn, and then at LSU against Florida. So I actually heard someone on game day actually did come out and say that they don't want to be at one school for 4 games. So it looks like they're going to go to number 15 number 15 SMU at number 24 Memphis. Memphis is favored by 6 in this game.
Was at Memphis?
With that Memphis. You want me to go first here?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's Memphis favored by? I'm sorry.
It's okay. Memphis is favored by 6.
Memphis -6. Oh, I know nothing about either of these teams. Okay.
So I'm taking SMU in this game.
Smart pick. I don't know anything about these teams. I'll take Memphis just to make it fun.
Okay.
Give me Memphis.
Good, because I don't think we're going to disagree on the next one. So
yeah.
The reason I'm taking I didn't want to explain it after you picked. The reason I'm taking SMU is because I've seen bits and pieces of them this year, and they can score a lot.
Why is Memphis favored?
I guess just because they're at home. Memphis is decent, but I'm not sure why it's a 6-point spread. I think it should be more than that towards SMU, not towards Memphis. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. No idea about either of these teams.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, this game is really going to go to Memphis. I don't get it, but it's fine.
College game day is reaching this year. Where they had the Dakotas last week, and
they did that last year too. But they've never gone to low quality schools like this back-to-back weeks before. They've never, from what I read, they've never done that back-to-back weeks.
Yeah,
but this is a rough week, and like I said, they don't want to play Florida again or be with Florida again. So it's fine. I think it's going to really hurt their ratings this week, honestly.
Yeah.
So anyway, so our last game for us this week is number 8 Georgia versus number 6 Florida, neutral site, and Georgia is favored by 6.5.
Wow. Yeah, taking Florida.
Me too.
Yeah, Florida big in this one.
Yeah, I hope so. Be really disappointed if it doesn't end up that way. So we'll see. Yeah. Interesting thing though, the head coach of Georgia is requesting. He's basically not appealing, but he's put in like an official request to the conference that whichever school is hosting this game, obviously they always play in Jacksonville. This game's always in Jacksonville. So whichever team is a home team, he's basically requesting that they be allowed to use it as a home game, so they can bring recruits in. They can talk to them before the game, talk to them after the game, which I'm okay with. I think it's a good idea actually, because both of these teams lose out on a home game every other year because of this matchup. Yeah. Because they did just extend it through 2023, and Jacksonville. And the reason they did is because they both get big money from this game. Yeah, like the city of Jacksonville gives them big money. So I think they raised it now. Before they were getting basically each school got $500,000 from the city of Jacksonville for this game. And so they just raised that. I think each school gets like $1 million every year now.
It's awesome.
Travel expenses and all this extra stuff. So there's a lot of money in it for both schools, but now they're trying to make it so they can get some recruiting perks as well. So very exciting.
Very exciting. Yeah, this is the one game I'll probably watch all weekend. So very, very exciting. I've probably watched more Florida games this year than I ever have in my life.
That's right.
Because of this podcast. All right. Top 6 time. Top 6. Some mixing up this week because Oklahoma embarrassed themselves, losing to – who did they lose to? I can't even think right now. Who did Oklahoma lose to?
I don't even remember. It's pretty bad.
I don't remember either. What do we do, a college podcast or something?
Maybe it was in Kansas. I don't even know.
Was it? It feels like
no, it wasn't Kansas. I don't remember who it was. It's bad. That's not a good sign for us.
No.
Oh, it was Kansas State.
Kansas State, yes. Lost to Kansas State. It almost looked like they're going to have a comeback. I watched the end of it with that onside kick. It was really close, and I would have been pretty disappointed if Oklahoma would have come back because I was rooting for Kansas State there.
Right.
So the Big 12 is probably out of the playoffs. There's a really good chance that nobody from the Big 12 will be in, which opens it up for either 2 Big 10 teams or 2 SEC teams.
Yeah, unless Baylor goes undefeated, continues to go undefeated.
Yeah.
That's the only shot right now is Baylor.
And that's a weak shot.
Yeah.
So I would still almost put a 1-loss SEC or 1-loss Big 10 team over an undefeated Baylor with how the Big 12 is.
Yeah, I think so. If that 1-loss team would have to be, what would it be, Penn State?
Yeah.
Or Minnesota? One of those two?
Minnesota. Or
Ohio State? One of those 3? 2 of those 3 getting in, basically. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I would put a 1-loss Penn State, a 1-loss Minnesota, or a 1-loss Ohio State in over a Big 12 champion right now.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
What I think is going to be interesting, though, is the Pac-12. Because if Oregon wins out and Utah wins out, then that would be each of them has 1 loss.
Yeah.
So Oregon losing to LSU, Utah losing to USC, and they play each other to go to win the conference championship, then that would be a really interesting result of that game, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So top 6. Number 6, I have Florida.
So number 6, I have Penn State.
Okay. Thanks for putting Penn State in there, Tim.
They really didn't give me a choice. Everybody else lost. So, no, I'm just joking. Penn State, they've earned their spot. They've earned their top 6 now.
Yeah. I think our 6 and 5 are going to be flip-flopped because I have Penn State at 5.
And I have Florida at number 5.
Yeah. Yep. Number 4, Clemson.
I put Clemson at number 4 this week.
Nice. And so my number 3 team is LSU. If you follow us on Facebook, you'll see my weekly rankings, basically weekly. Sometimes I miss a week or so in there, but I've dropped LSU to number 3. And I think it's because Florida played their common opponent, Georgia. No, who was it? Auburn, yeah. Florida played Auburn way better than LSU did. I am starting to seriously question how good LSU is really. I know a lot of people are really high on LSU, and they've proven it. I mean, they beat Auburn, they beat Florida, they beat Texas is mediocre at best. I don't think Texas is really a quality win anymore. So they beat Florida, and Florida all credit to Florida. They seem to be an okay team this year. And so that's a quality win for LSU, and that's the one quality win that they have. Let's not get overhyped on LSU. They've given up a lot of points. They gave up 21 to Florida. They gave up 20 to Auburn. How many points did Florida give up against Auburn? Do you remember that?
I want to say 10 off the top of my head, but I can double check.
Yeah, it wasn't much. It was a defensive battle. It was kind of a sloppy game, and so they played
13.
13, yeah. LSU played Auburn worse than Florida played Auburn. And so I think LSU, if you keep paying attention, I think next week, Bama wins it. And I think it's an easy win for Bama. And Joe Burrow, I think he's going to play well. I think he's going to do well. But I think Alabama is going to beat out LSU. And so LSU has actually dropped to number 3 on my list, my top 6.
All right. So my number 3, you're not going to like this, Ohio State.
Why?
So of the 3 games this week, I told you before this game even started, I don't believe in Wisconsin. I don't think they're good. I don't. You don't lose Illinois like they did, and then you turn around and have no pride whatsoever and get blown out by a really good Ohio State team. I'm not downplaying how good they are, but I just felt like they had no pride. In the second half, especially, they just got absolutely destroyed. Okay. So right now I put them at 3 versus the other 2 teams, LSU playing a top 10 team, whether or not you respect Auburn, they're still a top 10 team. And
they didn't play Auburn well.
They did. Or Auburn just played up. Auburn played up in this game.
No. And they only scored 23 points on it. It was way too close. Auburn is not good. They're going to end up losing probably 2 more games. They're going to be a 4-loss team. Auburn's fine. I'll call them a good team, but they are not a top 10 team. They're probably around 21st.
Yeah, I disagree. I think they might lose to Alabama, but their defensive line is one of the best 5 in the country.
False.
Defensive line is very good.
No. So Ohio State is number 3 based on their what?
Based on the performance. Like nothing as they did. I'm talking about the opponents.
But they're winning how they should against these opponents.
Well, get a stronger schedule.
And who's your number 1?
I haven't said yet.
It's going to be Alabama. If LSU's number 2, then Alabama's number 1. So
I didn't say number 2 yet. I just said number 3 was OSU.
Okay, so then number 2 is Alabama. Alabama's higher than Ohio State, right?
Yes.
Tell me why. Justify it. Go.
Okay, I will. So they lost their starting quarterback. I dropped them all the way to number 5 last week?
Something like that.
4 or 5. I think 5 because you were all like, what? They're out of the playoff. So what they did is they turned around and obviously Arkansas is not a good team. I'm not
No, they're not.
But the difference is even without their starting quarterback, they absolutely dominated. So they basically
what was the score?
I don't remember. It was like 50-5 or something. I don't remember. Okay. I can look it up if you want.
That's okay.
So my point is they showed that they're going to be even better once they get Tua back, I believe. So they're basically saying we can beat anybody, anywhere, anytime. It was 48-7.
Yeah, because they beat Arkansas 40-7. Yeah. Yeah. So that
without their quarterback.
Yeah, they can beat anybody, anytime, anywhere, as long as it's Arkansas. Give me a break.
I didn't say that.
That's what you just said. They just proved because they won a game with their backup quarterback against Arkansas.
They're just basically saying because people were calling an upset for this game, which is a joke, I think. Anyway, but the point is, this team without a starting quarterback was still like, no, they have the best coach in college football history.
Okay.
And once they get their quarterback healthy again, they're going to be one of, if not the best team, and I hate to say this, in college football.
What have they done better than what Ohio State's done? What part of their team looks better than any part of Ohio State's team? Their offensive line? Maybe. Defensive line? No. Running back? No. Quarterback? Maybe. Defensive back? No. Linebackers? No. Special teams? No. Ohio State is head and shoulders, maybe not head and shoulders, but they are head above every aspect of Alabama's team outside of offensive line and quarterback.
Look, the bottom line is neither one of these teams has played anybody.
Exactly. And so
I'm
just your utter hatred for the Big Ten has Ohio State at number 3.
No. I'm telling you, I'm basing this on the best
schedule?
Coach ever to play the game or coach the game. piecing together what he has to do and still showing like it doesn't matter. They can still be this good.
No, it doesn't make any sense. You're basing it off of things that you have. You're not even watching the games. You're not even looking at the teams. You're looking at what they do with their backup quarterback. Like that's who their coach is. I mean, yeah, they probably do have the best coach that's ever played. Doesn't mean that their team this year is better than Ohio State so far this season. Ohio State, like I said, has not played their starters all 4 quarters, meaning that they have blown out every team that they have played. They've done everything they've had to do. Alabama, they're giving up a ton of points. Ohio State has the number 1 defense, number 1 running back in the country. They're just how they're number 3 on your list is baffling to me. Baffling.
Well, it's not just based on what's happened so far. They have a lot to do still. So it's more than just what they've already done.
You said if Ohio State won by 50 this week, they'd be number 1 on your list. They won by 31 and they drop. Come on.
They didn't win by 50. I was consistent.
Yeah, but to drop below Alabama because Alabama beat Arkansas, give me a break.
At this point, Wisconsin just is no good.
Break.
Let's see if Penn State can keep winning out, and then
Wisconsin is no good. So you drop Ohio State, but you bump Arkansas because Arkansas is just that good. They gave up just as many points to Arkansas as Ohio State gave up to Wisconsin.
I'm just saying, you're so angry right now.
It's frustrating, Tim. It's frustrating that Ohio State across the board does not get the respect that they deserve outside of the people who actually watch their games. If they watch the games, then they're putting them number 1 almost every time because they see how good they really are.
That's okay.
3 legitimate Heisman candidates on both sides of the ball.
Well, Ohio State will have the chance to prove themselves. So
why? When? By the time if they're going to play Penn State, they're like, oh, well, Penn State must not be that good. Oh, well, because they're just smoking everybody.
Next 2 games, I don't know, does Penn State play Illinois before then? If they play Illinois and lose to them, then yeah, I'm probably going to say the same thing.
No, you're going to say the same thing regardless.
If Penn State is undefeated when they play Ohio State, I'm not going to turn around and say, yeah, Penn State was garbage. Like the teams what has happened when in one opponent that Ohio State's play that you cannot legitimately say, I make a point when I say they weren't very good.
I think Cincinnati is a really good team. They're a top 25 team. I think they are.
They're not a really good team.
I think Wisconsin is a good team. I think who else? I mean, we've played other ranked teams already this season. We have the number 4 strength of schedule overall in the country right now. Number 4 strength of schedule.
I'd like to see that.
Higher than
I've
LSU.
seen that listed anywhere.
Google it right now. College stats. Number 4 overall. I think LSU is lower than them actually.
I mean, I can tell you who they played. They played FAU, Cincinnati, Indiana, Miami, Ohio, Nebraska, Northwestern.
I take back what I said last week about Indiana not being a good team.
It's too late.
Indiana has only 2 losses. It was when they played Ohio State they didn't look that good.
Okay, well, Michigan State, Northwestern, Wisconsin. That's Ohio State's schedule.
I'm looking at it right now. Strength of schedule. Number 1 is Auburn, which is clear. They've played a lot of tough games. Wisconsin, Michigan, and then Ohio State has the number 4 hardest, has the 4th highest strength of schedule.
According to who?
According to this website. I don't know.
According to this website.
Team rankings. As soon as you Google strength of schedule. Let's look it up somewhere else. I'm telling you, Ohio State has a tough schedule, but no one's giving them any
credit. I just read you their schedule. The schedule is not – there's nothing tough about their schedule. I just read you.
Indiana, tough team. They're a good team. Cincinnati, top 25 team. Wisconsin, top 25 team. They played a tough schedule, Tim. People just aren't giving them their credit, aren't giving them their dues. It's frustrating. Let's see. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So who do you have at number 2?
Number 2, I have Alabama.
Okay, I also have Alabama. Number 1?
Number 1, I have LSU.
Undeservedly so, but whatever. Tim LS.
They played a tougher schedule than Ohio State.
Have they?
You even had – what? Really?
I said Florida's their only quality win. Florida.
LSU. So, like you said, do we count Texas now?
No. They're out of top 25. They're not.
But they still
Cincinnati's not. Texas definitely isn't.
Okay, but they still played Florida and Auburn, which is better than anything Ohio State's played.
Auburn is a 4-loss team. I've told you that already.
They are not a 4-loss team.
I wish.
Auburn versus Wisconsin right now, who wins?
Auburn versus Wisconsin. Wisconsin.
Yeah, totally disagree.
I don't. Wisconsin is a good team, telling you, and Auburn is not.
Well, they'll both be in the 3-loss bowl somewhere. So
yeah, I hope they play each other so we can settle this on the field.
That'd be great.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, all right. So that's our top 6. Our final thoughts, Tim. This week, our final thoughts were collaborative on this one. Oh, by the way, if you would like to interject on our top 6, give us a like, follow, comment on Facebook or Twitter, and we can talk about this more online. We are at Tim and Shipe on Facebook and Twitter. You can also email us at collegefootballpod, Tim and Shipe Show at collegefootballpod.com. Not sure how quick we'll get back to you, but sometime in the future we will get back to you. The best way to get to us is on Facebook. Follow us, like, comment at Tim and Shipe, and we will be sure to comment back and give you a shout out maybe on the show if you do. So our final thoughts are about the ruling that just came out today around 3:30. The NCAA ruled for players to be able to profit from their likeness. So Tim, I saw this and I didn't look into it a whole lot, but tell me more. Is this mimicking what the California ruling where it's just on their likeness?
Yes. Yeah. So it's basically the same thing with California where players can make money, if they want to get sponsorships, basically, if they want to go out and do commercials, they're allowed to do that.
And they're allowed to be on NCAA football. So when is this and make money? When is this coming into effect?
They're basically telling the 3 different levels of college football that they want them to come up with a plan by 2021.
2021?
Yeah.
So a plan by 2021, probably in place by 2022?
Or 23, somewhere in there. Which ironically is right around the same timeline where this whole California thing is supposed to be in place.
Man.
So I don't think it's a coincidence. I think California really pushed their hand.
Yeah, the good part is my kids will be grown by then a little bit, so maybe I can play some NCAA football with them. But I'll be like 35 by then, so I'm getting too much of an adult to play video games. Can you be too much of an adult to play video games?
I don't think so. No, I think
I start to feel like a loser. The older I get, I'm still playing video games, but I like them. So, yes, NCAA football, you're coming back in 2022-23 time range, and these players are going to be able to profit from their likeness. Tim, final thoughts on that? 30 seconds.
Well, I like it. I think that the NCAA had no choice. They had to do this. Just because it was happening whether they were involved or not. So they just basically made their choice and like, all right, let's get in on this. My only concern I think is going to be with these people who are just basically now it's going to be pay to play no matter how they define it. It's going to become that because this booster is going to say, hey, come to my car dealership. I'll do a 30-second commercial. I'll give you $500,000 and come play for my school. And that's what it's going to be. That's the part I don't like about it is you can't monitor it. But let's be honest, players are getting money now. So at least let's make it within the rules and just go with it.
Are they going to be able to monitor it? Maybe you think they could put caps on it? You can only be sponsored for $1,000 for a commercial. Put your name on a poster, sell jerseys because the universities are going to profit from this too, because now they can put their names on jerseys, right?
I think so. But I'm not sure how that's going to work when they break it down.
Yeah.
But I think the reality is going to be kind of like it is now, where they'll just find ways around the regulations if they try to regulate it. So it doesn't matter. It's just opening a door that, like I said, it's already happening, under the table. So they're just going to basically make it common knowledge.
Yeah. My final thoughts on this is that it is a really good thing, especially for the players. Like you said, I think it happens anyway. But I think that it doesn't make any sense. And when I was in college, I worked at a library, and I had no problem if I wanted to go do a car commercial or whatever, I could have done it. I don't know. I know that working in a library isn't the same as playing Division I football on primetime television, but still, it's the same type of concept of where I wasn't handcuffed by my passion. It's one thing like this is these players' passion, and they can only do so much with it because of quote unquote amateurism. Give me a break. So I am really excited about this. I think this is a good step for the game. I think it's a good step for colleges. It is going to end up being the richer colleges are going to benefit more from this kind of rule. because, look at the SMUs. You're not going to get the sponsorships. You're not going to get the primetime television like an Ohio State or Florida would. It's just not going to happen. So your big schools are just going to get bigger and better. And that's the way it is now anyway. We've talked about Bagman in past episodes to where, these recruits are getting paid to come to these schools regardless. And so it happens whether you like to admit it or not. This isn't the end of amateurism. This isn't the end of college football as we know it. We will adapt, adjust, and get used to it. It is just the beginning of people, even these students, these kids getting paid what they deserve because it's a grueling schedule for these people, for these student athletes to show up every day for these practices, plus do school, plus all their other family commitments, everything else. It is a ton. And so I'm really excited as a person that these people can benefit just from their name. Like, why shouldn't they be able to? They're the best in the world at what they do. They should be able to profit from it. And it shouldn't be just a college monopoly, these billion-dollar schools. It's not just the sports alone. The football alone is a billion-dollar industry. And I think the players should get something. And the colleges don't even have to pay them. It's coming from outside sources. So let it happen. Just go with it and embrace it because it's an inevitability.
Yeah, and I think also that is another point is the real winner of this is the NCAA.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the past, the conversation has been you need to pay these players. You're making all this money. You're getting all these perks. Like, you need to pay these players.
Mm-hmm.
This is the way the NCAA keeps all of their money, and people from the outside are going to be paying the players instead. It's a win-win for the NCAA, even though they're trying to be like, we tried to fight this. We tried to keep it from happening. But now I guess we don't really have a choice. I guess we'll try to, modernize and make it more, give people what they want. But really, this is what they've wanted the whole time. This is a win for the
NCAA. You're exactly right. Yep. So, outside sources are paying the players now, and they can just use their likeness and their name. And it's exciting for college football. Don't be a Debbie Downer, people. Embrace this, and it's a good thing for these students, and it's a good thing for the game. So let's embrace it. Let's move forward with college football. As we move forward with college football, we're going to come to an end on our college football podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Thank you so much for joining us. He's Tim Jones. I'm Aaron Scheib. Thank you so much for being a part of the show, and thank you so much to our sponsors and our fans and everyone out there. We love you so much. Mwah! We'll catch you next time.
And go Gators, Scheib. I think you need a hug.
I do need a hug. I'm frustrated with you. All right. Peace, everybody.